What's going on, people in YouTube land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's awesome, amazing rock and roll video. And for today's video, I wanted to give you guys my thoughts, opinions, reviews, everything you can think of a show that I just went to. I just got to witness the Guns N' Roses show November 13th, 2017 at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, unless you've lived under a rock for the last 2 years, or you aren't involved in the rock and roll and metal community at all, or maybe you just don't go online, or you don't check your phone, or you don't go on Facebook, or you don't go on Instagram, or you don't do anything, you know that last year, 2016, the somewhat classic lineup of Guns N' Roses reunited. You got Axl with Slash and Duff again, and it was awesome. They held hands, they had Christmas parties, they went to Thanksgiving dinner, they had a good time, and they ruled the world. They did a stadium tour, and I did get to see them in 2016, also in Nashville, on the stadium run of the Not in This Lifetime tour, where they played at Nissan Stadium, and it was everything and more that I had hoped it could be. I got amazing seats that were in the pit right in front of the stage, and it was just an incredible experience. They played for 2.5 hours and played everything and more that you could think of, and even being a hardcore fan, they covered most bases. Sure, they still didn't play a couple songs I'd love to hear, like Dead Horse or Get in the Ring or things like that, but they covered a lot of territory in that triumphant 2.5-hour stadium extravaganza with pyro and video screens and explosions and girls lifting their shirts and things happening and more explosions and Axl not having any meltdowns and playing on time. That was impressive too. So fast forward a year to 2017, and the band is doing kind of a victory lap, and they're playing arenas at a lot of places they've already played. And as a result, I had to go again, because even when that happened, I thought, man, that's one of the greatest rock and roll shows from one of the bands I never thought I'd see with at least a somewhat original, legit lineup. And I'd love to do it again, but I don't think it's going to happen. And here we are, a year later, November 13th, 2017, Guns N' Roses returned to Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, it's not a giant rock and roll arena spectacular without buying some merch, so let's just get that out of the way. They had some cool stuff. I picked up this shirt that's actually an exclusive to Nashville. As you can see, it says Guns N' Roses Nashville there, and on the back, it has the tour date with the date and the city and all that stuff, and these you could only get at the show, and I think they did sell out, so if you didn't get one, sorry, too bad, you're out of luck. You got to go the eBay route to get one of these guys, because this is an awesome thing to add to the collection. And I also got this tour book here, which is pretty great. Has kind of the classic logo there on the front, as well as the Guns N' Roses was here on the back, and it's just full of phenomenal pictures. I mean, just look at some of this stuff. You can open to pretty much any page, and it's gonna be a good time. You got, look at that shot, or both of those shots there. Those are incredible. So great tour book. Tour book, weirdly enough, wasn't that expensive. It was $20, but it's actually fairly thick for a tour book. I'd say there's 50, 100 pages, something like that in there, but that's what I picked up merch-wise. It was some great stuff, typical shirt, tour book. Not a lot of bands do tour books in 2017, but I was glad to pick that stuff up. And one thing that was interesting this leg of the tour is last year they had a different opening act in every city. They, unfortunately, Nashville had Chris Stapleton. Didn't think he was good. Kind of a waste of time, but whatever. Now I can say I saw one of the biggest current country stars. And other cities, on the other hand, had some, varying levels of better and worse. On the worst side of things, you got Skrillex in one place, but on the better side of things, you got The Cult, so there were some better things and some worse things. But this time, it was just kind of an evening with. It wasn't exactly billed that way, and as a result, a lot of people showed up late, because not only was there no opening act, but Guns N' Roses went on time. They went on time. They went on stage maybe a minute early even, because the show was scheduled to start at 7 o'clock. And they went on about 6:59 or so. It was impressive. What's going on in 2017? How is Axl on time and not too mad at the audience or anyone else? How is this happening? And so, spoiler alert, the band played a really long time. But if you're familiar with Guns N' Roses, you know this already. They went on stage a minute before 7, and they weren't done till almost 10:30. That's right, they played 3.5 hours, or just shy of 3.5 hours. And funny part is, there's not a lot of stage banter in their show. Axl doesn't really talk to the audience a lot. There's not a lot of sing-alongs. There's not a lot of breakdowns. There are a lot of extended instrumentals, but there's not a lot of crap in the middle, so to speak. So that's almost 3.5 hours of pure rock and roll magic. And when the band did go on, the first thing you notice is that the band looks awesome. I mean, they look pretty cool for guys of their age. I mean, Slash doesn't look like he's aged a day in his life. Duff is just in amazing shape, and Axl looks better than he's looked in recent years, in all honesty. I mean, he's definitely aged the poorest out of them, but he looks fine for his age, honestly. He's in better shape, doesn't have those weird corn rolls anymore, and he kind of looks like the rock star that he always has been and always should be. And, you know, they opened with It's So Easy, which is such an amazing quintessential Guns N' Roses song, kind of the quintessential opening track now, and then they went straight into Mr. Brownstone, and you know, that double shot of Appetite for Destruction just shows you right there, this band knows what their audience wants. They open with just two killer rockin' songs. The production was on point visually, the sound was amazing, the band was on fire, and it was everything you want out of a Guns N' Roses show. It was amazing. It was so good. It was so over the top and so great. And then after that, they did something risky. They did something risky that they've been doing this whole tour, even the first leg, this leg, everything else. They did something risky that could possibly ruin all that in some fans' eyes. But it's such a good song that I think a lot of people didn't even realize it was necessarily what it was. Then maybe some people thought it was a new song, or the people that are in the know knew what it was and liked it. And what that is they played the title track from Chinese Democracy as the third track into the set. That's right, 3 tracks into the classic lineup reunion. You're playing something off of Chinese Democracy. That's a very risky move. But the title track itself, if you ask me, is one of the best songs on there. It really does fit with the current band's repertoire, so to speak. And they went into it and the audience was feeling it. They were loving it. It's all slashed up with more, you know, brand new Slash solos and everything. And it sounded great at Nissan Stadium a year ago, and it still sounds great now. So that's how they kind of opened the show, followed by another key Appetite track. The 4th song that they played was Welcome to the Jungle. I think that's surprising to some people every time they do that. Now, they've done this for a long time where it's early in the set, but I still think that's surprising. That's the kind of song that any other band would close their set with. I mean, it's one of their most well-known songs, but, you know, Guns N' Roses, they look at things differently, and I'm sure Axl in particular, he's like, no, let's get it out early. You know, it's kind of an intro song anyways. Obviously, it's an intro to Appetite, and he's like, yeah, let's just get it out there, get the crowd hyped early in the set, go in for the kill, and just, like, destroy it early on the set. And it was great. It was a glorious moment. Anytime you see such a big, iconical, legendary song played live in front of you, it's an amazing moment in your life. And of course, it was amazing that night. And from there, the set continued in a pretty typical fashion for a Guns N' Roses show. It was a good mix of lots of Appetite for Destruction songs, a surprising amount of Chinese Democracy that unfortunately cleared the room at times. It was definitely time for bathroom break when you start to hear samples come over the PA and you knew it was that, but I don't know, I stuck it all out. I thought it was cool that they played some of that stuff. Of course, there were a lot of tracks from the Use Your Illusion records and even some stuff from the GNR Lives, as well as a boatload of covers. And that's the one complaint I might have. Now, they were on stage for 3.5 hours, and we all know Guns N' Roses doesn't have the biggest back catalog for a classic rock band like that, but there were a lot of covers. And I don't just mean stuff that was on the Spaghetti Incident. There was just a lot of covers. Now, the band's always done a lot of covers, and there's been covers, you know, scattered throughout their whole discography, but I don't know, some of it maybe wasn't the most essential when you could have squeezed in a couple more of their original tracks. I mean, you could have done Appetite in its entirety, for example, or some more songs off of Use Your Illusion. You know, some of the covers, like The Seeker, for example, I don't know that was the most required, but on the other hand, when you hear Duff doing a cover of the Misfits song Attitude, that was amazing. I mean, getting to see that in an arena or a stadium setting is just, it's great, such a good song. And of course you have something like Live and Let Die, which was one of their biggest hits and is a cover, but you can't not do that. So I mean, that was very much a welcome addition that's, I'm assuming, always been in the set since they have released it. But I don't know, I think it was maybe a little heavy on the covers considering this band does have a lot of great music, but we're not going to dwell on the negatives because even with the covers that maybe were a little more plentiful than they should have been, it was amazing. And they still played some deep cuts. I'm so glad to see that Coma from Use Your Illusion 1 has stayed in the set. I mean, that's a long song. That's like a 10-minute long song. That's not a hit. It's kind of a deep cut. I think it's an amazing song, one of their best, but I'm just so happy to get to see that twice in my lifetime in a live setting. And they even played one of the songs that I was really sad they didn't play at Nissan Stadium last year because when they were at Nissan, it was like a 2.5 hour set. This one's 3.5, so you have an extra hour of Guns. And one of the songs they added in there was Used to Love Her, which I've always thought was a great song. I love kind of black comedy songs like that that are just, you know, taken out of context a lot of the times, but I love that song. I was so glad they played the electric version, which was just great. It's a catchy, happy sing-along, and I actually was surprised at the reaction it got from the crowd. I mean, I know this is a Guns N' Roses audience, and you know, that song got a reputation when it came out, but a lot of people were singing along and dancing and having a good time to it, so they knocked it out of the park throwing that into the set, I would say. And of course, it goes without saying, they played all the hits. They played Paradise City, they played Sweet Child of Mine, November Rain, Patience, Don't Cry, all the songs that you know and love, they played them. And if you're a casual fan, they definitely hit every mark. And even if you're a hardcore fan, like I said, there was a fair amount of deep cuts there. Again, Coma, 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 that's such a good song. And that's, you know, that's kind of my take on the show. I mean, it was a great show. The production, the visuals were over the top. I mean, they had a huge video screen that had a bit dated animation at times, but when it was doing more of the video shots of the band, it was really good, really on point. There was pyro, you know, the piano came out in the middle of the stage for November Rain. The production was great. Sound was great. These guys sound amazing. I know I've heard some reports of Axl not sounding great certain nights, but I thought he sounded good. And, you know, Duff was on point. The backing guys were on point. But honestly, the person that stole the show, and I think everybody that was in that arena agreed on this with the applause you get every time that he would step to the front of the stage, was Slash. Of course it was Slash. Slash hasn't really aged a day, it looks like, since, you know, the 80s, early 90s heyday. And he plays just as well. You know, he looks just as cool, and it's so effortless with him. You know, he just doesn't look like he even tries. He just walks out of bed, puts a shirt on, puts a hat on, some sunglasses. He's like, yeah, I'm good to go. And as a result, he steals the show every time. You know, you have Axl changing outfits every 3 songs and leaving and everything, and he's great, but it's all Slash. Slash is the MVP of this band, and I remember for years always saying, you know, if they just reunited with Slash, I think it would put this band in such a bigger spot. And when you got Duff thrown in the mix there, look at what it did. It took them from here to like somewhere up here. I mean, last year it was one of the most profitable tours of the year. I'm assuming it's going to happen again this year, and who knows what they're going to do from here. You know, I heard there's rumors of a actual new studio record. I don't know what my opinion on that honestly is. I know that Slash still has the riffs in him, so we'll see on that. I really hope there is a live Blu-ray and CD release of this at some point of this tour, because you know, it's a remarkable thing, and you know they've had to record a bunch of this stuff. So kind of my summary of this was that it was an amazing show. Guns N' Roses put on such a good show. If you still haven't checked them out somehow in this 2 years that they've been touring as a reunion tour, not in this lifetime tour, go check it out if you get the chance. If you're a fan, check it out. If you're not a fan, it's not going to change your mind. And if you made it this far in the video as not being a fan, I'm impressed with you, and I gotta thank you for that. But definitely check this tour out. I know it's expensive, but it's worth it. It's one of the best shows you're gonna see, period. It's long, it's quality, there's no filler, there's no stinker moments. It's a little bit too much Chinese democracy in there. That's really the only negative, with some of the covers maybe being a bit, you know, too many of those as well. But overall, it's a really good show, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. And again, my name is Kimchi Chris. Let me know what you guys thought of the Guns N' Roses show you got to attend down in the comments below. And maybe give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell, the little ding ding, so you actually get the updates from the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next video.